Welcome back to Aggressively Watchable. Happy New Year, Andrew.
Happy New Year, you son of a bitch.
It's a new year, a year full of opportunity. So, what are we going to talk about on our first session back?
Let's talk about last year's shit. It's a new fucking day, and that means a new fucking MCU property has been dropped on our lap. And this time, we got Hawkeye, the show about everyone's least favorite Avenger. This show was straight ass on crackers.
It's the worst MCU show they put out so far, by far.
Well, first of all, I will say, like, going into it, I thought I was actually legitimately excited for the show. I think whenever, like, coming off of, like, a show like The Leftovers or Watchmen, you have a main storyline, but every once in a while, there would be an episode where it deviates from the main plot and just super focuses on one specific side character that you probably didn't care about. And at first, you'd probably go like, man, I don't want to like spend time with this motherfucker. I want to go back to like the good shit. Give me back to the A plot. But by the time those episodes end, they end up being like the best episode of the season. So I was hoping the same thing would happen for Hawkeye. And because Hawkeye's not everyone's favorite Avenger. He gets clowned on for being like one of the only ones without superpowers.
Listen, I've got powers too, and they're pretty sweet.
But this show just proved, I think, everyone right that he is the one of the weakest Avengers.
You could definitely tell Jeremy Renner did not want to be there because he's just phoning his performance in, and I feel like nobody in that cast is really good. Here's the thing: it's 6 episodes, so it's a mini series, but it takes forever to like get the plot going. Like they don't do anything for like 3 or 4 episodes, and by then that's like more than half the runtime of the show.
Yeah, that's what it felt. It felt like 5.5 episodes of like filler. Then the last 30 minutes kick in, and they're like, "Oh shit, we need a plot! Holy fuck!" And then they just speed run through a season's worth of like plot arcs in like 30 minutes, and it's so goddamn rushed.
It's also just really boring too. Even with spoiler alert, but they have Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin show up in probably like the goofiest looking suit I think I've seen him in. Apparently it's comic accurate, but I feel like that was not the best choice. It just looks really bad. They also introduced another character, Echo, so it seems like this is just sort of like a vehicle to jumpstart a bunch of other shows or other sequels. It's just sort of like, what was the reason for this show to be here? Like, you could have not have ever released this and nothing would have changed.
First of all, like the reason for making this show, my guess now would be that the Disney looked at the MCU spreadsheet and looked at their Disney Plus lineup and said, something's missing here. You gotta have a show. You gotta have a show to fill in this time slot. Like it didn't feel like it's a story that like they needed to tell. It just felt like an obligation to make like a Hawkeye series. It's like, we have like one thing left in Jeremy Renner's contract. Might as well fart out a Hawkeye show.
It's a really bad, like, I guess, passing of the torch too, because they're trying to give this to Haley Steinfeld, who I guess is going to be the next Hawkeye. So Jeremy Renner's just like, well, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I think ultimately the greatest sin of this show is that it really has no idea what the fuck it wants to be. Like, it has so many plot points and side plots, but, like, none of them really connect to each other. Hawkeye wanting to clear his name from, like, his, like past with, like, Ronin and Black Widow. That has literally nothing to do with the shit that's going on in Haley Steinfeld's life. And the shit that's going on with Haley Steinfeld has literally nothing to do with fucking, What's Your Nuts from Black Widow. It's like, it's just all this shit. This is a show where just shit happens. Like, there's no really, like, nothing really happens organically.
There's not much structure either, because, like,
yeah.
Really, the only thing that connects them is that they're all taking place at the same time in the same city. That's really it.
Like, it's even with, like, Florence Pugh from Black Widow. it felt like they had the show structured and planned out, and then they saw Black Widow and saw the after credit scene, and they're like, well, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? Well, I guess we now have to include her in this show now. She just seems like such an afterthought in this show.
Because she's really in it for like what, the last like 3 episodes when she shows up. Because it didn't seem like a Black Widow was like a big thing, because it was like, oh, this is the guy that killed your sister. So it's like, okay, so she's gonna be like probably like one of the big like antagonists of the show, even if she's not like a villain.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like she's just there, and then she's just like, oh look, I'm gonna have a girls' night by sneaking into Haley Steinfeld's, and then talk to her about like, oh, don't meet your heroes, and then she's sort of like, oh, okay, well, I guess he's cool because he did the same whistle that she did.
Why did you say that name?
I think in theory, I think the show could have worked if you just do like a ground level, like low stakes plot about Clint and then maybe Kate Bishop having to team up to take down Kingpin. I think honestly that like a miniseries like that could fucking work. It's just that the show just dicks around and just wastes your time like most of the time. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah, and they already have a great example of like how to do that, which is Daredevil, where it's all like ground level, no like outer space threat or no multiversal threat. It's just like it's just Kingpin, and they do that so well because it's more like character focused. They work with what they have, and they do a really good job at selling it. So I'm like, yeah, why didn't you take the Daredevil playbook?
Yeah, it just feels like they were like plot focused rather than like character focused, if that makes sense. Because like the only reason why this plot works is if Haley Steinfeld just so happened to be wearing the same clothes that the waiting staff at the party was wearing. And like it also has to work that she just so happened to like see a dog, that then that dog goes and bites one of the mafia dudes just literally out of nowhere. And it just so happens that she, like, the dog just ran away out of nowhere. And so, she just so happened to rescue the dog from a car in front of, like, a convenient place, like, news camera. It's just shit like that where, like, it doesn't really organically go together. It's just, stuff just has to be jammed in there in order to make it work. One of the last, like, points I wanted to bring up is the over-reliance on your knowledge on the MCU. And like what I mean by that, like if this was your like first MCU show, like going in, like this is your first entry into the MCU, I can't see a possibility of someone just enjoying it on his own. Because it relies so heavily on the shit you've already seen before in order to like make sense. Like I get it, it's the MCU. We're like how many like films and TV shows deep, but at the same time, I think that's a bit lazy to rely on other shit.
I mean, really, if you think about it, they rely on everybody
Black
else.
Widow.
They rely on the events of Black Widow.
Like the whole Florence Pugh reveal. The context of the audience, we know who that is, but then to the context of the show, it's just some girl. But the show makes it like a don, don, don. Like it never establishes before why it's so important that we see her. The intro to like episode 5 is legit her going on some mission to rehabilitate like a former Black Widow. But again, I know she's doing that because I saw Black Widow. But if this was your legit first entry, like if you didn't see Black Widow or anything shit like that, there's no context to whatever the fuck she's doing. Like there's certain elements like the Thanos snap, it's like pop culture at this point, but that I can forgive. You can get away with shit like that.
There's like no way, unless like you are like very old, there's no way you haven't at least seen Phase 1. And so the whole thinking was, well, there's no way they're not going to know who Black Widow is and the relationship between those two if they haven't even seen up to Avengers. But I can maybe see more on the fact that it's Black, because not everybody has seen Black Widow. So I could see more, it's like, okay, well, they don't explain what that is, and they can't because it's only 6 goddamn episodes.
So I would say, don't put it in the show at all at that point. Like, just introduce her doing some other shit. It annoys me into that. we get off to, like, I think one of my biggest gripes, and that is how they handled fucking Kingpin. First of all, he appears in episode 6, but before that, they tease him throughout. But it's so goddamn annoying, because the way that they tease Kingpin, like, it felt like specifically designed for audience engagement on Twitter, because they keep on referring to this character as the uncle or the big guy. It's meant to go like, ooh, I wonder who that is. But in the context of the story, there's no reason why you should have just dropped his name like maybe once or twice before his appearance. Because it's like the characters know who it is. Like, it's not that big a secret in the universe who it is. But they only did it because the audience are like, ooh, is it Kingpin? Could it be Vincent D'Onofrio playing him?
And the thing is, like, it would have been better if he was the big bad, but he's not the big bad of the show. It's supposed to be Vera Farmiga, and then he just kind of shows up for, like, a mini boss fight, and then he gets shot, but it's, like, so annoying because they're like, oh, maybe he's dead. It's like, he's not fucking dead if you just brought him back after, like, be canceled on Netflix or decanonized. Like, they're not going to just kill him off. So it's like, why even bother with, like, doing any of that?
Yeah, as you can fucking tell, we're not fans of this shit.
Absolutely. This is a garbage show. I sat through 6 episodes of bullshit.
That's the thing. Would I recommend this at all? Only if you're like one of those people that are like diehard Marvel people who just see shit out of obligation, then watch it. If you're a fucking casual normie, fucking skip this shit. Like, you're not gonna get anything out of this.
Not even an obligation to watch it because it literally affects nothing.
But with that being said, yeah, that's all we got to talk about this bullshit right here. So goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.
Fuck this show.